Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too, without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. All right, hello and welcome everyone. I am Daryl Urbanski here as always. Today we have a very dear guest, good close friend of mine, someone that we're very fortunate to have here on the call with us. It's Stephanie Burns, the CEO and founder of Chic CEO. And not only is she writing for Forbes magazine and keynote speaking at just a laundry list of who's events, but she's also extremely passionate about helping entrepreneurs be successful. She's very, very passionate about helping female entrepreneurs in particular. And she's also has these amazing skills and abilities as far as when it comes to connecting people, creating large audiences, and she's really good with articulating her message, and she's just a phenomenal person and really been helpful for me in my career and helping myself get established here in California. So I know it's going to be a great call today. I know I'm honored to have her here with us. Stephanie, thank you so much for your time today. How are you doing?
Oh, Daryl, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I am great. As I said a little bit ago, I'm getting over a cold, so if I sound a little stuffy, I apologize, but I am really excited to be here and chat with you today.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, yeah, no, you sound just fine, so we're good on that front. Especially with people like us, we just keep going anyways. I don't think
That's right.
Yeah, for us, like, oh, I'm only operating at 30%. That's 90% for most people.
Exactly.
So, no, we're fine. It's totally good. But yeah, so now that I got you on the call, can we maybe talk a little bit about like what was the spark that ignited in you to help you, or sorry, to make you want to help entrepreneurs and to just launch and get into all this? I mean, because you weren't always writing for major magazines and talking on different stages and rubbing elbows with some of the who's who and the rich and the famous in the business world. So how did all that kind of begin?
Well, it's funny. I actually wanted to be an opera singer. That was my dream. So I went to school for music, and I was getting through about my fourth year and realized that in order to be a professional musician, that I probably would most likely be a waitress for the rest of my life, that it's really difficult. And, music is something that's very personal to me, and I was very passionate about it. And I realized at that moment that I probably wasn't destined to create a life that I wanted in music, and I wanted to keep it to myself. So I ended up just getting my performance degree in music and thought, I need to do something else that is creative. So I got an additional bachelor's degree in advertising. So once I left school, came out here to California. I went to school in South Dakota. I came out to California, and I started doing marketing for a casino out here for a couple of years. And after the casino, I went and started working for an innovation consultancy here in San Diego called Bulldog Drummond. And I was there for about 5 years working on some really cool branding projects. I got to help on things like Nike and Cleanwell, the Country Music Channel, really cool projects. So, during that time, I was doing triathlons and those kinds of things and thought, man, I really, really would like to get my MBA. So I went back to school and I was getting my MBA, and I was working at Bulldog Drummond full time, and I think I was training for a triathlon somewhere in there too. And I was exhausted, and I was a class one night thinking, why am I here? And, why isn't this information somewhere where I can get to it for free and I can actually sleep and have a social life? And around that time, all of my friends were starting to get laid off because it was around 2008. And all of my really dear girlfriends were losing their jobs, and they kept coming to me and asking me how to start a business so they could start something on the side to pay their bills. And I kept saying, well, I don't know. Why are you asking me this? And they said, well, you're getting your MBA. Aren't you learning how to start a business? And I said, no, I'm learning how to run a business. I'm learning econ and accounting and strategic management and global marketing. I couldn't tell you what, legal entity you should be. I couldn't tell you what piece of paperwork you should go pick up from the courthouse. That's not what we're learning. So I kept getting these questions over and over and over again from my friends. And finally I thought, I'm just going to bring them all over to my house, put them in the living room, give them a bunch of wine, and try to answer all of their questions. And if I can't answer their questions, I'll find the answer to their questions for them because, this is getting ridiculous. So I
Right.
bring them all over, and there's 15 of them in my living room just
Wow.
staring at me like, what do we do? How do I pay my bills? How do I start a business? And none of them knew what they were doing. And certainly I didn't know what I was doing either at the time. And I thought, if there are 15 of just my friends
Right,
in
right,
this
right.
room,
Yep.
you know, that are in their late 30s or late 20s, early 30s, not being able to find, super smart, super educated, not being able to find the answers to these questions, this is a market that's not being served. So I started doing my research. Women are starting businesses almost 2 to 1 over men right now. And currently in 2014, oh, approximately 1,200 female-owned businesses are started a day. And so it was a fast-growing market that I didn't feel was being served in the right way. And I
Right.
decided to make it my business plan for grad school. And a year later, I got laid off just like everybody else. And I went home, I pulled the business plan off the shelf, I started getting to work. And then a few months later, I got cast to be on the Wheel of Fortune, the game show. I won some money on the Wheel of Fortune, and I
What?
knew, yes, I won money on the Wheel of Fortune, took the money, and had the website built. And within 6 months of launching, we were named one of the top 10 entrepreneurial websites for women by Forbes, and we've just been cooking ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely have been cooking. I can attest to that. I mean, you are a mover and a shaker, and you are a phenomenal connector. And again, you really do embody that entrepreneurship spirit. So yeah, that's excellent. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to go through? Because it's definitely like a lot of ups and downs as an entrepreneur. Sometimes they're back to back. I've had months where I've made like really high five figures, and then the week after you just get kicked in the teeth by something else, and it's not the steady, slow drum of just collecting a paycheck and going on with your life. And there's upsets there too. But for you, what have been some of the biggest things that you've struggled with?
Definitely capital. It's been difficult because we don't we haven't taken any outside investment, and if we spend a dollar, it's because we made a dollar. We don't spend our money, frivolously or
Hmm.
buy things we don't need to, and it's been a challenge in growth because I know that if we had more money, more capital, that I could have grown this much faster. Today we are at 72,000 subscribers, which is lovely, but it's taken me a long time to get there because I haven't spent any money on marketing, and that's all organic growth.
Mm.
And that's been a challenge because, you know, fast growth is great, but we've built a strong foundation by growing slowly. But it is a challenge because sometimes I feel like there's people that are surpassing us or still don't even know that we exist to help them, and that's a big challenge for me. But at this point, one of the best parts that have come out of not having enough money is that I'm an expert negotiator,
Yes.
and and you know this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you're going to talk about that. You should talk about that. I didn't
Sure.
mention it. Yeah, okay. So Stephanie had this thing that she did. It was 101 days of 101 unreasonable requests. Starting so obviously, like you said, when you start up, you're dealing with not having a lot of capital. Go ahead. You can go ahead and take it away. But it's just I was fascinated by that. And man, what are some of the amazing results you've had with it too?
Well, it's funny because you know, I'm a big I the one thing of not having any money or trying to grow something or grow your platform without having a huge resource and money is just a tool.
Yes.
So if you think about a toolbox and all your tools are in there and one of the most important ones obviously is your hammer and you don't have a hammer, what do? Well, you might take the end of a screwdriver and pound some nails in, or you might take your wrench and use it as a humor. So
Right.
it, really trying to think of how I can get the end result with the tools that I have. And one of the tools that I have is learning how to um, is to be a good negotiator. So
Mm.
I've got a few set of skills that I pull out when I need to, and one of those is making unreasonable requests. And I love to make unreasonable requests. It's highly embarrassing. It stretches me further than what's comfortable, and I highly recommend anybody makes outlandish requests. But you would be so surprised on how many times you get a yes. And
Yeah.
I've gotten things um,
Like,
from my Rebel desk.
yes, yes.
Was one of my prized possessions.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I want one. I want one. So if you don't know what a Rebel desk is, it's a treadmill. It's a standing desk attached to a treadmill, essentially. And how much did you pay for it?
Zero.
Zero. Like that's just so awesome. But you know what I love about that though? There's a really deep-seated meaning, and that's especially like because here's the real lesson to that, and especially as entrepreneurs, we're doers, we're active, we're out there, we're working, and it's really hard for us to ask for help. So again, like we said at the beginning of the call, how when someone like you or myself, when we're like operating at what we feel is our 30%, for a lot of other people it's like 90%. I get people ask all the time, how do you get so much done in a day? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do what I love, and it's easy.
Yeah.
But it's hard for us to ask for help. So even though you're considering an unreasonable request, like I tell you, it's not unreasonable at all. There's plenty of people that have no qualms, no concerns, and no trouble with it all. Just asking for not even necessarily for help, but just even for things that we need. Well, I guess it's help, but just things that we need to get to progress. To progress, you didn't necessarily need a Rebel desk, but it would help your lifestyle. It'd help your fitness. You work better when you stand up. I try to stand up and work, and I put my computer on my fridge or somewhere high up wherever I can until I'm just going to bite the bullet and get a desk. But no, so I love that lesson though because it's opened so many doors for you. Just being willing to ask for what you want. Like why is that so hard for us to just ask for what we want? I mean, it's got you on stages next to some very big names. It's just gotten you your Rebel desk. It's opened up a ton of opportunities, and it's got people on board to your team to help you have some breakthroughs and have some big wins and successes. Um,
Yeah,
it's just
it's been a huge thing for me, and it's been a theme in my life and in my career. And the thing is, yeah, I wanted a Rebel desk. It is gorgeous, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I'm more productive when I'm walking and typing, but the best part about it was whether I got it or not really didn't matter because I actually called the CEO and asked her to give me one for free. That is a ridiculous, unreasonable request.
hmm
That is ridiculous. And you know what? The courage to do that
hmm
is by far the biggest payoff
Yes.
to having that because as entrepreneurs, we are a different breed.
Yeah.
And when you are out there putting your neck on the line and you're not asking for the things that you need to grow or the things that you want to get bigger or things like that, you are doing a disservice because what your hope is that your company will employ people, will matter to people, will make an impact in our communities and our families' lives. And
hmm
if you're not willing to go out there and ask for the things that seem unreasonable, the crazy things to make your business move, you can't provide jobs, you can't provide impact, you can't provide value. So you have to get out there and be crazy pants
hmm
and ask for crazy things so that the people around you who are benefiting from your stretching and being uncomfortable can actually benefit from you. It's
hmm
you know what I mean? So yeah, and the other cool thing that I just got is a 2 month trip to Bali.
Yes, yes, you got a 2 month trip to Bali where you're going to be able to work there. Anyway, it's going to be perfect. It's for your honeymoon too, isn't it?
Kind of for my honeymoon.
Kind
That's
of for
the
your
hush
honeymoon.
hush.
Yeah, but
But
that's
it's my fiance and I are gonna go, and it's a program called Ruby on the Beach, and I'm
yep.
so excited. I'm gonna learn how to code, and I've been wanting to learn how to computer code for a really long time. I've been wanting to learn Ruby on Rails. So I found this program, got to talking to the owner, and kind of worked out a deal where he's going to let me come over there on their dime. I'm going to do the program and I'm going to, tell my community about it. So
Right.
it's these things where you get really excited and you can
Yep.
reach out and make these unreasonable requests and obviously always provide value and reciprocity is a big thing with me. It's not like I'm just asking for
Right.
no.
Yeah, you're not asking for a handout.
Right.
That's the other, we should make that distinction.
Hmm.
This is the important thing too. First of all, a really key principle of this is the outreach that you're doing. Outreach is huge because that's why people love networking events and that. But I know a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm going to go for the networking, but then when they go, they just socialize and hang out. So what I really love is one, you're using the contacts and the network that you've built in a really positive way. But the other thing is that you're learning multiple ways to provide value because money
Hmm.
is only one type of value. And this is really important for a lot of entrepreneurs to learn is that when you're building a company, again, you do not scale and you cannot do everything and you have to be able to onboard people. And if you're starting out and you're a cash strapped startup, you need to be able to like barter with people, negotiate, trade, give equity. Like you have to find some way because there's different types of income. I learned this from one of my mentors that there's physical income and there's psychic income.
Mm.
And there's two ways. So what you're providing for the owner is psychic income. You're in exchange for getting access to his product and his event, which for him at cost is probably not going to be that big of a deal. But in exchange, he's getting access to tens of thousands of potential prospects that he wants access to, and he's getting the psychic income that he wants of having the credibility for who you are, what you've accomplished. But that's just a big validation for you, and you wouldn't know that if you were like cackling alone in your little apartment or your office, like
Uh-huh.
envisioning. And that's again, as entrepreneurs, we like to dream and build. We like to dream and build and be locked away as like mad scientists working on our masterpiece. But we need that reality check of the real world of what is our value and how do we exchange it with other people. And I love it because yeah. I mean, from office supplies to to connections, to stage presences,
Hmm.
to travel, like trips, paid trips around the world. Like you just go and ask for what you want. And I love that about you because it's just something, even myself, I have so much guilt around asking for help. And even last night I was talking to a buddy, I'm not going to mention any names, but he was like, dude, he's like, you're starting to get really, really big. He was like, I want to do, like, I want to do your website. I want to do all this stuff because people need to know who you are, man. They're like,
Yeah.
those guys are so big and nobody knows about it. And they're like all this stuff. And but it's I have the opposite problem. I love what you said about the confidence and the ability to like to just accept. All right, what do I need to accomplish my goal? I need this. Who can I ask for that? I'm just going to go ask for it
Ask for it.
and figure out a way to make it happen. Yeah, because money is not everything, and of course it's how we keep score in business. But it's not. It's not having to pay for everything that you get in business and do in business is just it's so one dimensional, and so it's
I agree, and that's the interesting part about entrepreneurship is that it's a puzzle, and it's money isn't the only way, like you said, it's not the only way to pay for something.
yeah.
So, if you need something, you can pay for it in other ways, and that's kind of the creative, fun way to figure things out and get the things that you need in order to grow, but also provide the value to somebody else who's looking to grow.
Yeah.
So, just like this trip to Bali, I am so excited to learn how to code. But yeah, being in Bali for 2 months with the man that I love is pretty stinking sweet too.
Hmm.
But him having access to 72,000 female entrepreneurs, me actually going through the program so that I can talk about it with other people, me having a rebel desk to talk about it to other
Hmm.
people and other entrepreneurs. I know for a fact she's gotten 2 or 3 sales just from my network, from me talking about it to just friends,
Hmm.
not even writing about it or anything like that. So
Yep.
I know the value of what this desk does for me, and I know the value of what it's going to be to learn how to code. So yeah, those are some of my favorite things that I've
Yeah.
asked for. But as entrepreneurs, we have to get uncomfortable and we have to ask for things that we think are unreasonable.
And I think that part of it is helping validate your own sense of self-worth and your
Hmm.
own sense of what value you have, because that's something that I know a lot of people suffer from, and they have mental issues around money and what they think they're valuable, like what their stuff is valued to, and so that really kind of gives you a benchmark of how valuable what you're building or what you have is to other people. No, it's huge. I mean, Gene Schwartz was one of the world's greatest, one of the greatest copywriters of all time, and he wrote some letters that literally pulled in tens of millions of dollars for a company. I mean, this company, I was just in their office, its boardroom. I was in their office, when was that? That was like in the summer, I think it was August that I went there. And I asked how big their customer database was, and they said 9 million people. And
Jeez.
Gene Schwartz was a huge, yeah, it's a couple of people, right?
Man.
And Gene Schwartz was a mainstay copywriter. He beat all their other promotions, all their controls, but guess what? From the interviews and that I've heard, my understanding is that they never paid Gene a dime. for any of his work. Not a single penny. Because what
Wow.
he wanted was he wanted their customer list because he had his own business. And if he just knew who were the buyers were, he knew he would save so much money on the marketing. So he would write promotions for free for this company, let them mail it and make millions of dollars, but then it's called co-reg. They would share the buyer's information with him, and he had a similar product that he would then sell to them, and he didn't have to use any of his money up front. And of course, he would write his own promotions and that. But when we talk about the difference of psychic income versus physical income, there's other things that might be more valuable to you than the money you could pay for them. I mean,
Right.
there's alliances with people that are priceless. Access to another company's resources. Having a company that just lets you come in and use their equipment, or when they have staff who have idle time, things like that. Like, you can't buy that, but they're just so valuable. So
I agree.
that's
I
awesome.
agree.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, um, all right, Stephanie, do you have any books that you always recommend to people? Is there anything that you think people listening to this call that they should really dive in and read and master to help? Anything that's helped you out a lot?
Yeah, yeah. So, if you're just starting in business, if you haven't quite gotten off the ground, or you're just in the ideation stages, I always recommend reading E-Myth Revisited. One of the
Mm.
best books
Uh-huh.
for brand new entrepreneurs to learn systems. If you're in your business now, one of the best books that I've read recently is Essentialism by Greg McCowan.
Mm.
And it really talks about what's that thing, that one thing that you need to get done, and um, really drilling down to the most essential things that you can do. And the author starts the story out about how uh, his wife had a baby and he had to go back to work within like an hour for this high level meeting, and he was really obviously very upset,
Mm-hmm.
as any of us would be, I would think. And so he realized that he wasn't putting what was truly essential first. So it's a great book, and if you can get mired in the overwhelm and the squirrel brain that kind of happens when we get started, it's a good book to revisit. And he talks a lot about strategic intent, and just really deciding what's important and what's not in your business, and truly about 80% of what you're doing is not important.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a great
Great book.
suggestion. You're the third person that's recommended that, so I think I'm going to have to get it
Oh,
today.
funny. Yeah.
So no, it's a really good book. Another book that's kind of along similar lines. You may want to check it out. It's called How to Get Control of Your Time in Your Life, and it's by Alan Laken. And it's an old book. And again, it was recommended to me by the VP of that company I mentioned in the boardroom, and it's just been awesome. I just opened it up and read like a chapter that I thought was most relevant to what I was doing,
Hmm.
because like all the books we get, we don't necessarily need to read them front to back. And it hit me with it left such an impression that I'm reading the whole book, and it's
Oh,
kind of
wow.
along the same similar lines. So, but yeah, so those are awesome. Essentialism, and then E-Myth. Even if you have a business and you have not read that book, that is a great book.
It
That was a
is.
huge influence for me in my business
Hmm.
career. So I did read the books. I did their training. I was in one of their coaching programs.
Wow.
Yeah, great, 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 great content.
And
Um,
Michael Gerber lives here in San Diego.
really?
He does.
We gotta
Yeah.
look him up. I'm gonna
I
buy him
know.
lunch.
I've done an interview with him, and it was very fascinating. He's working on some really cool things now. But yeah, it's a great book, learning how to systematize and operationalize your business and not get too involved in it. And I should probably reread it.
Really, like, having said that, that's so awesome. Stephanie, you're so awesome. So what are some of the greatest mistakes that you see a lot of entrepreneurs making? Because you've got, over 70,000 entrepreneurs that you're dealing with on a regular basis that are coming to you with their problems, their successes, a lot of times maybe even sharing their secret fears and things that they may not share with a lot of other people or be afraid to share. So what do you see as a common mistake a lot of them making?
Probably the biggest thing that I see entrepreneurs doing is getting too freaked out about doing the wrong thing. Um, and truly what what that does is it just paralyzes people. I have friends
Mm-hmm.
that have literally sat on a great idea for years,
Mm-hmm.
not moving forward because they're not sure exactly what to do first, or more importantly, they're afraid they're going to do the wrong thing.
Right.
And once you start start to work on an idea and you start to take some action, you realize very quickly there is no wrong thing. There's just things, and they inform the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And a lot of the times with my private clients, when they get all kind of worked up in this, oh my God, what if I do the wrong thing? I say this is why there's an expression called baby steps. When a baby starts taking steps, do we get mad at it for falling over or being wobbly or
Mm-hmm.
looking, holding on to a chair or a table as they get started? No, they're learning. Same with you. You're not going to take a wrong step unless you say, yeah, I'm going to take this $100,000 and go, you know, take it to the slot machine in order to get startup capital, and you do something completely foolish. You really have, there's no way to do it wrong. So not getting started is the biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs making, and it typically comes from a place of fear and that they're not sure what to do next or that they're going to do the wrong thing. And that's just a huge mistake. You just have to take action and then you'll figure out what the right thing is.
That's great. And that really segues into something that I remember another friend and mentor told me. He said, Daryl, it's none of your business what other people think of you or what they're doing. You just worry about yourself. And
Yeah.
that's funny because what you mentioned is something that that I've kind of like I've been getting back into shape. I took a year off of just really working hard and making lots of money, and then I let my fitness routine, which is my dad sat me down and was like, Daryl, this is a part of who you are. You need to get back on top of that. I was like, you're right. So I've been doing CrossFit, but it's funny because early before we started the recording, I was talking about like where I'm at compared to everyone else. And when you talked about how people don't get started, I was thinking about a conversation I had with a friend, and they were concerned about where they're going to be at. Yeah, but other people are doing it too, and look at what they've got this and they've got that and all these things. But what really matters is where you're at and every day showing up to be better. Because I have a client right now. We're launching a marketing promotion for him, and he's hitting me up and he's like almost like you, like, hey, how are our stats? Is that good? Is that bad? What's going on? I'm like, those are our stats, and tomorrow we're going to wake up and we're going to come to work and we're going to try and beat them. And then the next day, we're going to wake up and we're going to come to work and we're going to try and beat them again. And the
Yeah.
next day, we're going to wake up and we're going to come to work and we're trying to beat them. So it doesn't matter because what are other people doing? What do they, I just want to know. And it's like, well, why? Like, it's almost that 80-20. Is that going to help move the numbers or not? And to be honest, the stats are pretty average. So it's not like they're doing good or bad, but I'm just trying to like rein him in and be exactly like you said. Like, look, stop worrying. Stop worrying. Let's just focus on what we want and what the goal is and just
Hmm.
keep moving forward.
I heard a really cool quote not too long ago, and it was the uh, 18-40-60 rule.
Okay.
And the 18, and it goes like this. When you're 18, all you're worried about is what everybody else thinks about you. And then when you're 40, all you worry about, or you don't care what anybody thinks about you. And then when you're 60, you realize nobody's been thinking about you. And it always sticks with me when I think, oh my God, what if I go to the gym and somebody thinks I'm doing something crazy or weird or they're looking at me weird. And then I think to myself, nobody cares what I'm doing.
Yep.
I don't care what anybody else is doing in here. Nobody cares what I'm doing, and that is so liberating. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy that I know it at 35 instead of at 60, that nobody's watching what I'm doing. So
Yep.
all I need to do is get to work and get going on what I need and what
Yep.
I want. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I love that. What is it? It's 18, 40,
40,
60
60
rule.
rule.
I love that. No, that's so perfect. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's managing yourself. The biggest secret that I've learned of the rich and the famous and the successful is time management, and it's that 24-hour block that you have. Like we all wake up every day with 24 hours ahead of us.
Mm,
And really at the end of the day, one of my mentors said every day is either won or lost. And every day you set a goal for yourself of what you want to accomplish, and at the end of the day either you won or you lost. And it's just the people who win successfully, they've just accumulated more wins than loses.
yeah.
And so anyway, I love that because you're right. It's not about that's such a good 18, 40, 60 rule.
40, 60 rule.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. It's so liberating. I feel bad for not
It
going to
is.
CrossFit this morning because I was like, I'm in pain. I can't. There's no way I can go and try and keep up. I'd only do half the exercise, and I'm already not top of the class already, and people will be looking at me. So
But they won't.
no, they
They
won't. They
absolutely
don't
won't.
care.
Because you don't. And I think about that all the time when people are like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, nobody sees you. Nobody
Hmm.
cares. And trust me, when they walk out that door, you are not in their thoughts
Yeah.
we all just think about ourselves all the time,
Yeah. Even the
and that's
people
it.
that you laugh at, like on YouTube, you saw some funny video and you laughed at them, like you've long forgotten about them once you
Five
close the
seconds
window.
later, it's over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
hmm
So, what other good advice have you ever been told? What's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
Some of the best advice I've ever been given is Howard Leonhardt. He's an investor in Silicon Beach, up in LA, and he said that the CEO's only job is he has two jobs. The CEO's job is to delegate, and then to the only thing you don't delegate is the delegating. And
Mm,
I always thought that's really interesting. So our job as the owners of our company is to delegate everything that needs to be done. The only thing we don't delegate is the delegating. And so that means that we have to really take a look at our team and the people that are working with us and for us, and really um, being able to recognize their strengths so that the company can move forward. And we don't have to be doing everything on our own. And when you're in a startup, you typically end up doing everything on your own anyway, just the nature of the beast.
mm,
But you really need to home in on your skills on learning how to recognize what people do well and what they don't do well, and then organizing your company in that manner so that your company can move forward fast, and trying not to do all the things that you're not good at and forcing yourself to doing them.
mm. No, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I was told the same thing by a mentor of mine. He said, delegate as much as you can so you're calling the shots, analyzing the stats, and making decisions. And that's basically how he summed it up, which that's really refreshing. I feel when you were talking, I feel like, I just lined up my to-do list for this weekend, and I'm like, I need to get rid of all that stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's awesome advice. Stephanie, whatever has been holding you back in your career? What kind of things do you feel have really impeded you? I mean, we talked about a couple, but do you ever feel that there's anything that really prevented you from the breakthroughs? Because obviously your company's still growing, and you're long from a mature business. We all are. But what do you think have been the biggest things that have held you back, and how did you overcome them?
That's funny that you asked me this question. I have my own podcast, and this morning I got to interview Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof exec. He's got one of the most top-rated podcasts ever, and
Hmm.
I asked him what his favorite mistake was, and he told me that he lost $6 million. And I was like, "Oh my God, how can that be your favorite mistake?" And so we got to talking about, how that happened and why that happened, and it really comes down to mindset. And just this year, I finally realized that I definitely have a mindset issue around, and this is we're getting all deep here and
No, it's
getting into
fine.
Stephanie's life, but I'm happy to share because I think it's really important that we all figure out what that thing is that could be holding us back. And for me, it was a feeling of worth. And over the summer, I realized that I was not feeling um, worthy of love, worthy of money, worthy of success. And so anytime any one of those things came up in my life, I was doing things to sabotage it. So if I lost 5 pounds, I would, stuff my face with Oreos. If I, went on a date with a couple really nice guys, I would, end it.
That's
If,
how ambitious you are. Like, I don't
yeah.
date one guy at a time. I date.
I don't have time, Daryl, to go one at a time. And so and then, in business, if I saw any success or I made any money, I would blow it.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out why I was doing this, sabotaging things. And then I was able to drill down with the help of some very dear friends that I'm having an issue with worth. And now that I've been working on it, suddenly those people that were um, pretty detrimental in my life, or trying to um, snuff out my spark, started to kind of flow away. And
Mm.
my fiance came into my life, and he's such a gift. I've started making more money than I've ever made before. And you know um, when I lose a couple pounds or anything, I'm not immediately running to the fridge to put them back on. So for me, a big challenge was literally me. And we can really try to figure out externally what's going wrong, and obviously need to do that as the founders of our companies, but sometimes it's us. And sometimes we really need to dig in to say, what is this and where is this coming from? And a couple of my girlfriends and I, the ones that kind of helped me come to this realization, they have their own things. And now what we're doing is holding each other accountable to make sure that I'm not doing things or saying things that promote me not being worthy of anything good in my life, and they've got those things. So that's something that's really been holding me back, and now I'm starting to work on that. And externally, I'm seeing so much more abundance and so much more love and kindness and money and the things that I want coming into my life because I'm finally ready to receive them. So
Yeah, and don't no. I mean, I can share as well. Don't feel. Thank you for sharing that because I think that's huge. I think psychology is such. I remember I used to run a martial arts school, and I would take students to tournament, and you would see them lose the match before it even started.
yeah.
Because the other guy would like eyeball them from across the mat, and you would just see their body language change. In fact, one of my mentors, whenever we were in between rounds for a 30-second or even a 2-minute break, and you're like with your sparring partner or your training partner, you were supposed to eyeball them down and and work on your gaze and work on not cringing when someone gives you like a mean mug. And that was like a
Wow.
real thing because it's all part of the psychology of it. And I think, and I can attest the same thing. We spoke about this about a couple of weeks ago that I went through something as well. There's been a lot of deaths this year. It's been like 10 deaths in 12 months, and it was affecting me in some ways. But once, same thing, I kind of just snapped out of it, got my mindset right on things. All of a sudden, I've got these leads for my 5-figure big ticket deal on the phone, and things that I'm like, my goals that I'm trying to achieve are just literally falling into place. And it's the mindset's a huge thing of it. I'm reading a book right now called Power of Will,
Hmm.
and it's talking about that the will that and it's fueled by your mindset. That when the will is there, I mean, you talk about when like a mother lifts a car to save her child and things like that, and it's that alignment of sense of being and purpose and belief in yourself. So I think that mindset really is a huge component of it. So I think that anyone who's listening to this call, they should probably do a deep dive and ask themselves like, what are your biggest fears? And something that's actually really good, and I learned this from I forget his name. He's a neuroscientist. I'm going to look it up. But one of the things I learned is when you have these fears, to just write them on a piece of paper, and then just crumple it up and put it somewhere else. But to get it all out, to not like assume that it's going to like writing it out is going to make it real or anything like this. You know what I mean? Like to just get it out, because if you keep it bottled in and you're going to gnaw on it and it's like a piece of popcorn stuck in your tooth, you're just going to tongue it in that. But just to get it out, to write on a piece of paper and write it in like really gory graphic detail, and then just be like, and then you can kind of sometimes see how silly that is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
because if I don't make this sale, then I can't pay my bills, and then I'll be late on rent, and then and then what? You're never going to make money again? Like, do you know what I mean? Then you're like, well, then well, that'll suck, but I have
Yeah.
options, and suddenly it loses its power.
The power's gone. Yeah, and the interesting thing too is some of us know that we have some sort of an issue and we can't identify it, and which was what was happening with me. And for all of last year and the better half of this year, I had somebody really negative in my life that I cared for a lot, but they were so cruel to me all the time, and I couldn't figure out why people kept coming into my life that would be so cruel. And finally, my friends, and if you don't know where your mindset is, it's a good thing to ask the people that are closest to you because they might know, and they might just not be telling you because they're afraid it might hurt your feelings or something. But they finally said, you're attracting these people into your life, and there's been 3 of them in succession that you're attracting them into your life because they're talking to you the way you are talking to you. And
Mm.
oh my God, I thought I was gonna just crumple on the floor when my eyes opened up to, if I'm not going to say I love you, Stephanie, they're not going to say I love you, Stephanie. And the second I started doing that was when my wonderful fiance came into my life to say I love you, Stephanie. And when I love you, money's not going to love me back. until I love you too, and I'm not afraid of you. And so sometimes if you know you're having a mindset issue and you're not quite sure what it is, but you know there's something off, be open with the people closest to you because they might be able to lend some insight to help you realize maybe exactly where you're having an issue. And one of the best exercises I've done to tackle a mindset issue is to argue with yourself on why it's not true out loud. You have to do it out loud. So, Stephanie, I'm not worthy of money. And then I have to argue the other side of it. Oh, that's ridiculous. Of course you are. Everybody's the same. We're all entitled to it, blah, 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 you know. And so argue with yourself on why that belief might not be true. And you'll hear out loud how silly it is, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a big challenge, but I think we all have something, some little demon that we could definitely tackle that would help us be more successful.
Well, and I don't think anyone's ever arrived at the same time. Like, I don't
Mm,
think, like, you hear about people who are enlightened, and I know the call, we're not talking about necessarily die hard business tactics or how to hire, fire, all that, but this is still a huge critical component because as a CEO, you are the leader and the visionary, and so your mindset, when you get up every day, your team, like, you represent the company. Like, you are the driving force behind the company. You are the guiding light, the North Star. So I think that, first of all, when I hear people like are enlightened, I don't really think that it's something you get to and then you're there. I think it's something it's like health. You continually aspire to be on a good diet. You continually aspire to be like active and all that. And it's the same thing with the mindset. You continually aspire to have that. But, every day, every 24 hours is different. And I think that that's really good concrete advice for people because, again, you get set back. Any of these setbacks that you can have in business, when people fail in business because they gave up and they walked away.
mm,
That's really what it is. I mean, that's one of the biggest axioms in martial arts. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. What matters is how many times you get back up. And I think that's a really important lesson for people on the call here, whatever they're going through, because again, I mean, you have phases of your life where everything's perfect, but if you're not in that phase, and especially if you're in the fire and the struggle and you feel tired and like perseverance is all the hard work you do when you're sick and tired from all the hard work you just finished doing. And that's the reality of it. And mindset is a huge part of that. Being able to ask for help and see and think creatively, think laterally versus just vertically about things. Those are really important skill sets you have to have. And as entrepreneurs, that's our gift to the world because we create something out of nothing. Right?
right.
We create businesses and services where there were none. We figure out a solution to a problem hundreds of thousands of people are having, and that's what makes that's what makes an entrepreneur rich, is they've helped and served so many people. So it's really important that we stay on top of that. So but yeah, I agree. That's a huge, 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 huge one.
Yeah.
It's so huge. People don't get it, but it's huge.
Yep. I
Um,
agree.
all right. So, well, I feel like I've had other questions to ask, but really, Stephanie, I mean, that's just been some really awesome content, very, very helpful for everyone, for myself at least. I know three things I'm already going to do when I get off this call now. I'm going to delegate more. I'm going to have a couple conversations with myself, and I'm going to make some unreasonable requests because
Heck yeah.
there's some things that I could definitely use that I know I need them, but I just can't ask for help. So that's just awesome. So, Stephanie, what are you working on these days? What are you really excited and passionate about?
Oh, so many things. So many things. But right now I'm really excited about the launch of my new podcast. It's called Top 3 Podcast for Entrepreneurs. It's actually in iTunes right now, but it officially launches on December 1st. So I'm really, really excited about that. We have the Chic Elite program that I love so much and I'm so proud of on the Chic CEO website. And the Chic Elite program is a monthly deep dive into a specific topic that it's really for the entrepreneur that's trying to grow their business that thinks maybe they might need a business coach, but just financially not ready to invest in something like that. This
Hmm.
is the way I can share what I would coach my private clients on. So it's $49 a month. It's super inexpensive, but the trainings are really deep and thorough. We talk about list building, marketing, automation, holding events, how to build your strategic plan, action plans, team building, those kinds of things. So we deep dive into lots of different areas of your business, and it's a great program. I'm really proud of it. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about is my new podcast and the Chic Elite program right now.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And
Yep.
so if anyone wants to check that out, they can go to Chic CEO. That's CHIC-CEO.com as
Hmm.
well. Are you on all social media platforms or mostly just Facebook?
Oh, all social media platforms. You can find me everywhere.
Right, yeah, of course, and you're probably even on a stage coming near you, because I don't know how you line them up, but you were like the most wanted speaker.
Oh,
You were even trending. You were at South by Southwest, and your name
I was. That's right.
was trending. You were like the number one trending like hashtag
That's
of
right.
all South by Southwest, which if you don't know, that's a huge conference in the States. So again, a mindset is huge. If you have the right mindset, if you're willing to tell people what you want and go and get it, if you're willing to surround yourself with like-minded people, if you're willing to reach out and get mentors, if you're willing to just take action, to persevere, and to take a hard look at yourself. This came up on another call where a lot of times business owners, we fall victims to our greatest flaws. If you're not good with money, then you'll find that that will be like you won't keep track of it, and then, oh, well, I thought I had more money than I had. If you're not resilient, if you're not resourceful, then you're going to constantly come up against these issues. And it really forces you to become a better version of yourself. I almost feel like it's just an endeavor everyone should do. Everyone should be engaged in a business of their own, some sort, just for even the life lessons that you learn, because we're here for a short time, not a long time. Life is still long, but it's so much more exciting and fun as an entrepreneur. I just would never want to trade it for anything else in the world. But
I
forget about
agree.
me. Stephanie Burns was
Agree.
number one trending at South by Southwest. Find her, chicceo.com, CHIC-CEO.com, and Facebook, Twitter, obviously any social media platform. And I couldn't recommend you higher. I couldn't give you a higher recommendation because Stephanie's already been phenomenal in just connecting me. She's just been very generous and giving for no particular reason other than just really being passionate about helping entrepreneurs succeed. When I was like fresh off the boat in America, from Canada, so it's so backwards from like small town Canada. I'm like, what's the, like. Anyways, that's another podcast, another time. But great resource and just phenomenal person. So thank you so much for your time today, Stephanie. I really do value and appreciate you and the value you give to my listeners, to me, and just to your own followers. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. I've gotten a tremendous amount of gifts from my friendship with you as well. So, not for no reason that I've been helping you. You've been a tremendous help to me as well, and you really know your stuff. And like I always say, when Daryl tells me to do something, damn it, that's what I do immediately. Always. I don't even question it anymore. So, thank you for being a wonderful resource to me and to my company. And I really enjoyed being on your show today.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie.
Hmm.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what three lessons did you just learn? What three aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.